Hello viewers, as I promised earlier, today I am with a presentation on rhetorical devices or figures of speech. So before proceeding into the presentation, I would like to give a very brief introduction about rhetorical devices or figures of speech. The term rhetoric owes its origin to Greek. From Greek, the word rhetoric is coming, and it literally means the art of public speaking. How you are speaking in front of a mass or gathering, this is called rhetoric. Rhetoric, in a very nutshell, if I have to say, then I will say it is the ornament of language. It is the ornament of language. Actually, we use also different kind of ornaments in order to beautify ourselves. Similarly, the poets and the writers, they are using these rhetorical devices in order to enhance the beauty of their language. Let us take the definition that was propounded by famous classical guru Aristotle. According to Aristotle, rhetoric is that faculty by which we understand what we will serve our turn concerning any subject to win belief in the hearer. So this was the definition that was propounded by Aristotle. Another eminent literary personage, that is John Locke, he defines rhetoric as the art of public speaking with propriety, elegance and force. So Locke defines rhetoric as the art of speaking with propriety, elegance and force. Before proceeding into the core of the lesson, we should know that what is the sole purpose or objective of rhetoric. So what I have found out or what I have understood, basically there are 3 points, key points. First one, to intensify the beauty of the language. The writers or the poet, they are using rhetorical devices or figures of speech in their writing in order to intensify the beauty of the language. By using these devices, they are intensifying the beauty of the language of the text. Second purpose, to sway the will of others. Our political leaders also, they are sometimes in their speech they are using different kind of rhetorical devices or figures of speech in order to sway the will of others. And the third and the last point, that is to persuade or motivate your audience, listeners or readers. To persuade or motivate your audience, it may be audience, if you are a radio jockey or if you are communicating through radio or where you are not present face to face with your target audience, then it will help you also. It will arouse the curiosity level of your listener also or your reader also. So these are the 3 purposes of rhetorical devices or figures of speech. I have prepared a chart or a table for your clear understanding. Rhetorical is a big branch, okay. It's an enormous branch, and in a single day it is quite next to impossible to cover up all the aspects. So here I have done this thing for you. In the first day we will learn some rhetorical devices which are based on similarity. The second video I will upload based on association, third day based on contrast, fourth day based on imagination, next based on indirectness, next based on sound, and lastly that is based on construction. So based on similarity, today we will discuss this thing. Under this heading, 5 rhetorical devices will come, that is simile, metaphor, allegory, parable and fable. Today we will discuss this much, and rest of the rhetorical devices in the due course I will prepare the presentation for you. So let us start with simile. simile. This is the definition of simile. A simile is a figure of speech in which an explicit comparison is made between two unallied things or ideas. A simile is a figure of speech in which, जिसमें an explicit comparison, the comparison will be there, and how the comparison will be, it will be an explicit means outwardly, the comparison, it will be visible to you. Okay, so it will be an explicit comparison is made between two unallied things, two different kinds of things and ideas. It may be things or it may be ideas. Okay, so let us take the first example. The burglar moves like a cat. So here I have highlighted the two words, that is burglar and cat. So the movement of a burglar has been compared with the movement of a cat. And where is the point of comparison? The cat's stealthy movement has been compared, the burglar's stealthy movement has been compared with that of a cat. So the burglar is moving stealthily like a cat. Okay, and here in simile, one thing, it will be quite easier for you to understand. If the comparison is drawn with the help of like and as, it will be simile. Okay, this is the first criteria. If you are a beginner, definitely it will help you a lot. Second example, red as a rose is C. Red as a rose is C. So the lady has been compared with a rose, and where is the point of comparison? Redness is the point of comparison. The lady is like a rose, and where is the point of comparison? Lady and the rose both are reddish in color, or they are red in color. Third example from Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud. I wandered lonely as a cloud. So the poet is comparing his movement with that of a cloud. So poet, he belonged to human race, and a cloud, it is a natural phenomena. So these are of two unallied things. Okay, things or ideas, two different things it should be. Here rose and sea, burglar and cat, both are unallied things or ideas, and where is the comparison is an explicit comparison. Let us take the fourth example. To follow knowledge like a sinking star. This line has been taken from Tennyson, from his great poem, famous poem Ulysses. To follow knowledge like a sinking star. This is a speech of Ulysses, in which Ulysses is eager to follow knowledge till his death. And where is the point of comparison? A sinking star will give light till its end. Similarly, till the very end of his life, the protagonist is willing to follow knowledge. Here is the point of comparison. In the fifth example, her locks are yellow as gold. So the locks of a lady has been compared with gold, and where is the point of comparison? Yellowness is the point of comparison. Okay, one thing I would like to tell you, this is very crucial and important. I have also highlighted the issue also. It is to be clearly borne in mind that person or things compared must be essentially different in kind, दो अलग अलग प्रजाति और किस्म का होना जरूरी है. जैसे इस एग्जाम्पल को आप ले लीजिए. She stands like a village girl. This is not at all an instance of simile. Why? Because here is a comparison. She, so she means a lady obviously, and a village girl. So she stands like a village girl. So where is the two words, she and a village girl? They belong to human race. So this is not an unallied, these are not unallied things or ideas. Okay, एक ही गोत्र का है. She and a village girl both belong to human race. That's why it is not an instance of simile. If we are little bit changing or altering the example, she dances like a peacock. definitely it will be an instance of simile, because the lady's dance has been compared with the dance of a peacock, but here it is not an instance of simile. This is very important, do not forget it. Next, that is metaphor. मेटाफर, इन मेटाफर को आप सिंपल लैंग्वेज में आप कह सकते हो इम्प्लाइड सिमिली भी कह सकते हो. मेटाफर is also a comparison between two different things or ideas, unallied things and or ideas. It is an comparison. So in a very nutshell, if you are, I am to say, I have to say, then I will say that metaphor is an implied simile. So let us take the definition. In metaphor, an implied comparison. Here the comparison was explicit comparison, but here the comparison will be an implied comparison. In metaphor, an implied comparison is made between two different things or ideas. An implied comparison is made between two different things or ideas. तो चीजें जो है वो दो अलग अलग किस्म का और दो अलग अलग प्रजाति का होगा, लेकिन यहाँ पे जो comparison होगा it will not be an explicit one, rather it will be an implicit comparison. This is the difference. Okay, so let us take the first example. The camel is the sheep of the desert. The camel is the sheep of the desert. So the camel and the sheep, two words I have highlighted. So the camel has been compared with that of a sheep. Sheep is capable enough to sail on the sea. Similarly, in a desert where there will be no water, but a camel will serve the purpose of a sheep. Understood? This is the thing. So the camel has been compared with the sheep of desert. Next example, he is the pillar of the state. So he means a person, and pillar, it is an artificial construction, man-made construction, or it may be a natural construction. So what is the function of pillar and what is the function of that person he? So pillar is that structure which will hold something, hold an architecture or hold something. Similarly, he is that pillar-like person who has an important role to play in the state. So he is actually a very important or very crucial person of that state. That's why the person has been compared with a pillar. But here the comparison is not visible. It is an internal comparison. It is an implied comparison. Okay. Let us take the third example. The variety is the spices of life. Spices. What is masala? And variety, विभिन्नता. So विभिन्नता जिंदगी का मसाला है. If you are adding different kind of spices in your food, definitely it will be tasty. Similarly, if your life is devoid of variety, definitely it will be boring. Like a spiceless food, your life will be boring. Okay, like your spiceless food and spiceless life, it will be boring. So variety is that spices of life which will make your life interesting, amusing. Okay, so here is the point of comparison. Fourth example, the wish is the father to the thought. The wish is the father to the thought. So the wish has been compared with the father to the thought. I think it is gettable. Now I will drink life to the lees. This line has been taken from Tennyson's Ulysses again. I will drink life. The protagonist, that is Ulysses, he is eager to enjoy life till the very end. Lees, what is lees actually? Let us know. Lees actually, that is the remaining sediment. Okay, remaining sediment or the drag of any kind of liquor. It may be tea, it may be alcohol, it may be anything. So the protagonist is willing to enjoy his life to the very end. Okay, the protagonist is willing to enjoy his life to the very end like a glass of liquor. Here is the point of comparison. Next, we are moving to allegory. What is an allegory? Let us take the definition first. An allegory is a detailed comparison. A detailed comparison between two unallied subjects is made. A detailed comparison between two unallied subjects is made. So here you will find an comparison obviously, and the two subject will be different in kinds, in nature, and there will be a moral undertone, with a moral undertone. But one thing you must keep in your mind when you are understanding allegory. First one, the comparison is not short. It is not a shorter comparison, rather it will be a longer one. Okay. Second thing, there must be a moral undertone. In the story, there must be a moral undertone, so that instruction or moral lesson could be preached. So what is the function of allegory? To preach moral lesson or instruction for the readers. Third one, that is the main objective is to bring social, religious or political correction. What is the sole intention of composing an allegory of when a writer is composing something? Definitely he or she has some preoccupied intention or notion about his creation, and in allegory, when he is composing an allegory, definitely one purpose is there, and the purpose is to bring social, it may be social correction, or it may be religious correction, or it may be political correction. And we may cite several examples, but I have taken only two: Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, and another by Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. Jonathan Swift का जो Gulliver's Travels है, this is an example of political allegory. It is not at all a very, though under it is the story is wrapped under the so many funny incidents are there, but this is not a very easy one to understand. Apparent this apparent veil of easiness, there is a tough knot. Okay, this is a political allegory actually. Gulliver is traveling from one country to another country. One country he is what he is facing, that he is in the land of Lilliput, and where he is like a giant. Okay, there to some extent the person was suffering from superiority complex. In another voyage he reached into the land of giant, where he became the Lilliput. So it is the place which will determine your place. Okay, so it is the place which will determine your place. आप कौन हो वो जगह तय कर देता है कि आप लिलीपुट हो या आप जायंट हो, वो जगह में वेरी करता है. So we should not suffer from superiority complex or inferiority complex. That is the main message or moral lesson from the story. Now next we are moving to parable. Parable, you may say to some extent it is a short allegorical story. A short allegorical story with a moral is given. The parable is mostly a short allegory. You may say that parable is a short allegory. And parable में जो first and foremost thing है, सबसे important चीज जो है, the moral is always about religion. ये the moral which it is giving in allegory, it may not be a moral lesson, it may be another kind of lesson, but here it will be obviously Christian moral will be preached in a, well, if I have to speak it very bluntly, then I will say in parable, in maximum cases the story has been taken from Bible, Old or New Testament. Okay, and obviously they are preaching about moral lesson, Christian values. About some good examples: the parable of Good Samaritan, the parable of prodigal son, the parable of sowers. These are some instances. Okay, and last one, that is the fable. A fable is generally a short story in which birds and animals are the character. यही fable में, fable और parable में और allegory में, this is the difference. Here the protagonist जो किरदार होगा वो है birds से और animals से. A fable is generally a short story in which birds and animals are the character, and at the end of the story there would be a moral lesson. There would be a moral will be there. Okay, so in allegory it will be longer one. Okay, and moral lesson will be there. In parable definitely it is moral lesson will be there, but it will be short version of allegory. And what is fable? In fable also moral lesson will be there, but here the characters will be birds. Either it will be birds or it will be animals. And best example could be cited here, that is the Aesop's fable can be claimed as a fine specimen of fable. And modern example could be cited, that is George Orwell's The Animal Farm is a modern instance of effective fable. Our some Indian fables are also there. Indian version of fable could be cited, that is Panchatantra by Vishnu Sharma was there, okay, where the birds and different kind of animals, they are speaking like human beings, okay. In fable, this is the cheap criteria, that here there will be, in general, no human entity will be there in general, but exceptional cases are there. But in generally the birds and the animals are the protagonists. They are speaking, they are behaving, they are talking like human beings. And another example may be there, that is Hitopadesh by Narayan Pandit. Okay, Hitopadesh can be cited also. And from American poet, that is Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his poem The Mountain and the Squirrel. Okay, this is a very interesting poem, very short one, very short. It will be of few lines. But the mountain is speaking. Mountain and the squirrel, they are engaged in a verbal combat, and the mountain is rebuking or chiding the squirrel that you are very small, you can't do anything. I am so big and enormous. Okay, I am carrying the forest or the woods on my back. I am preparing roads for you. I am so big and enormous. Actually, the protagonist, that is the mountain, he was suffering one sort of superiority complex, and in reply to the mountain, the squirrel says, "No doubt you are very big, enormous. I am accepting the fact, but you can't crack a nut. You can't crack a nut. आप बादाम नहीं तोड़ सकते हो. Okay, आप इतना कुछ कर सकते हो, लेकिन you can't crack a nut." Okay, so he is actually justifying that in this big universe, no doubt you have its own role to play, and though I am very small, very teeny, very small, I have my own role to play. This is the message of the story. So the main message for the reader is that in this big universe, nobody is big, nobody is small. Rather, God has placed everyone in its own field. सब लोग अपने अपने फील्ड में, क्षेत्र में माहिर है. This is the message of the short fable, short poem. Okay, in the next video we will talk about the second kind of rhetorical devices, second type rather I will say, that is the based on association. Okay, thank you.